What I've noticed has become really common after spending an hour with a group of people talking about emotional intelligence, its impact to our personal performance, its impact to teams, its impact to our organizations, is at the end of the discussion, with how much is often shared and how many light bulbs and pieces of information around emotional intelligence that really resonate with people. And so they do feel the overwhelm of the task that's in front of them to develop their emotional intelligence, but they also feel that really intense spark of motivation to get to it, because what's on the other side of it is something that they deeply desire. The same question is always asked at the end. So, what is it if I was to just do one thing? What's the one thing we have to be aware of? What's the one thing we have to do? What's the one thing that if I made the decision to execute on it today, I would notice a big impact from having worked on my emotional intelligence? And what I will often share, or almost always share, is the exact same skill set. And I just present it sometimes in a slightly different context depending upon the group. And what that share is where we falter in our emotional intelligence, where we falter within our emotions, especially the disruptive ones, is we make permanent decisions on impermanent emotions. So you and I, we all know that our emotions are impermanent. They don't last forever. Sometimes we just have to turn a corner and we're suddenly in a very different emotional state. From this moment now until the next moment when we read an email, our emotions can flip on a dime. And yet, we can make very permanent decisions in that moment. We can let something fly out of our lips in the heat of anger. We can avoid a difficult decision in the experience of fear. We could even, in something like elation, grab the candy bar when we're really trying to watch out for our health. And so by flexing the foundational skills of impulse control and emotional self-awareness, we can have tremendous impacts in what is our emotional intelligence, and not just the personal competency skills, the ones that help us manage ourselves, but also the social competency skills, the ones we use when we're interacting with other people. And it's very simple to actually start to flourish in these two areas. So impulse control is creating space between when we have our emotions and when we decide to act on those emotions. And that space provides time to understand, to really deepen our emotional self-awareness. And when we think about practicing impulse control, it's difficult on our brain because our impulses are deeply ingrained default thinking patterns that lead directly to an action. And so often we don't actually have to think about them. We just follow the neurological pathway into the default or knee-jerk response. So when we want to disrupt that and flex our impulse control, we have to stop the neurological response from happening. And that requires a lot of energy from our brain to do. So one, it is a mental commitment and a constant reminder to hold our tongue and watch ourselves like a hawk. Two, we also have to recognize we're going to ask our brain to work a lot harder. And so we may feel the fatigue of it. And when we're in fatigue, we're not usually as sharp, right? So to avoid being in fatigue and stay sharper at flexing that emotional intelligence skill, make sure we sleep well, make sure we do the things that energize us. And oftentimes those things are a bit of exercise, good nutrition, and spending time with people that we love, and in hobbies that fill us up. And secondly, because your brain is going to ask for more energy to do something new and different, and make sure that nutritionally throughout the day, you're giving yourself enough calories so your brain isn't starving. And by doing those kinds of things, it makes the journey of our emotional intelligence development a heck of a lot easier.